Good morning. Welcome to the December board meeting. Great to have a wonderful crowd today. We'll start the meeting by calling to order. Carrie, when you're ready.
Mr. Baden?
Here.
Mrs. Hapkemeyer? Here. Ms. McKnight?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Stom?
Here.
If we could all rise, say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Item number 2 on the agenda is to appoint a president pro tem, meaning to handle this meeting and then the start of next meeting for our elections again. Do we have any nominations for the president pro tem? Shelley?
I'd like a motion to nominate Jeff Baden.
Okay.
I just think that right now, this is just coming in for the pro tem.
Yep.
correct? Okay.
Nope, it's perfectly fine. And then,
Can you explain the
Yes.
pro tem?
Yeah, the pro tem is basically, it is a person that would handle, because when we start in January, we start new, and so it would be the individual that would have basically run the organizational meeting, and that would start the organizational meeting until, and then at that point, a president and vice president would be elected at that. During the meeting,
Meeting of
during
next
that organizational meeting, we would determine the dates for the meetings and so forth. And then from that, who's ever elected at that time then would take over and be the president for the year.
We'll do oath, and then you'll switch seats. So basically, they start the meeting and run things until that person is, the president and vice president are selected.
do I do a second that time? Or do I ask for any more nominations?
Well, from that. Is there a second for
Second
that?
for, okay. All right, do I have a second then for Mr. Baden? Okay, with that, do I have any more nominations?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there another nomination? Your move did not second.
Okay.
I'll nominate Kyle.
Okay, we have a nomination for myself. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Lindsay seconds. Carrie, when you are ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hapkemeyer? Yes. Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stom?
Yes.
All right. Moving on, establishing the January organizational meeting, moving it to the 7th of January at 6:30. Right, because wasn't it
Yes.
didn't we move it?
We
Right?
actually, it's a Tuesday
Yes.
instead of a Monday, and then we also are going to have, and that doesn't have any indication of what the other meetings need to be, but for this particular meeting, it's going to be then at 6:30 as well,
Perfect.
as long as you guys agree to that.
Do I have a motion?
I so motion.
Shelley moves. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Mike seconds. Carrie, when you are ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hapkemeyer? Yes. Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stom?
Yes.
All right, moving on to number 3 here is last month's Boards of Education minutes. Do I have any questions, comments, concerns on the minutes of last month? If not, need a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
Lindsay motions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Jeff will second. Carrie, when you're ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hapkemeyer? Yes. Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stom?
Yes.
All right, item number 4 is treasurer's report. Bless you.
Thank you. Bless you. First item on the agenda is to approve the November 2024 financial reports as presented. Under item B is to approve the donations as listed. This is a continuation from the AWEF grant applications that people apply for. We're still getting those checks in. And then I did want to note that $5,000, I had the board approve the fund at the 11/24 meeting that said what that would go in. This is just, we actually received the check now, so. Under item C is to approve the Lyell disposal per their letter dated November 18th, 2024. This is just, we have auxiliary services with Discovery Center in Lyell, Monclova Christian opts out, they don't run through the school anymore. But so when they use those funds, even though we don't make the purchases, so to speak, it's done through the ESC as a fiscal agent, we are still responsible to approve the disposal. So basically, this is just owed textbooks and books and stuff that they do usually on an annual basis. They'll submit a letter for disposal. So I would ask that you approve that. Under item D is to approve the renewal for the bank agreement with Fifth Third. Our current agreement expires on December 31st, 2024. This is basically just a depository fund, so we can deposit. With Fifth Third Bank, we have a savings account, which basically is where we deposit everything since PNC left the district. They still hold our checking account, but we have so many wires and everything that go in there for payments that we receive that we still use that bank as our main checking account. So Fifth Third serves as our payroll checking account and then a savings account where we take daily deposits, whether it be food service, athletics, whatever, to the Fifth Third Bank here in Waterville. So that is a 2-year agreement, and that is up for renewal. And then the last thing, this is usually on the January organizational meeting, but the auditor changed it, so, which actually makes sense, because this is just a resolution that we're passing to request the advance of tax collections. So when they start receiving in January, we'll start receiving advances, which is really good, because January we have a 3 payroll month, and it's gonna be a little tight. So, but we will start getting those funds. Not that I can share how much we're going to be getting yet. That would, that has not happened yet, but
You still haven't heard from the auditor? Okay. So it's still frustrating? Yeah, okay, yes.
yes, and I did have a conversation with the former auditor. She reached out to me on the Monday before Thanksgiving. And I did have a conversation with her, and she was going to make a phone call or two as well, but, so we did have a conversation on that, so.
But all the valuations and things will be certified in December by the state, right? Sometime, so by the January meeting, we should know.
Yes,
We'll probably have our tax bills.
Well,
yeah.
Yep.
I would think we would know sometime this month,
Late
but with the
December, yeah.
holidays, and it's creates a little bit of chaos, because the school donation agreements that I have to bill for, the agreement says that I mail those out 30 days before they're due. So usually we mail them out at the end of December.
right.
I'm probably not gonna have the new rates, so I'm going to mail all these out to the different organizations, and then my rate's gonna be wrong, because I use the current effective commercial and industrial rate. So, but we'll work through it, we'll get there. So,
I have no doubt.
I did want to share just one other thing, that the audit is almost done. It's been interesting this year. I think most people that have had to answer some questions are like, are these people new? And no, they're not new, but they redid the, basically the curriculum for the audit. So Chris would vouch for it. They've asked him several questions that he's never been asked before. And, it is an issue right now, because it's based on a financial audit, and here they are digging into tech and security on that, which is part of it. But, our Treasurers Association is kind of kicking back at that with the auditor's office right now, because it's just not part of a fiscal audit, although,
And food service as well.
yeah, it's crazy, yeah, and just some of the things that they're coming across. But as far as I know, there's nothing it's still gonna be a clean report. It's just been it's been a lot of extra work, I feel, and it's,
Far more thorough.
yeah, but that's good. I mean, people need to understand that if someone leaves the district and we don't take them off our system, even though they don't have what they need to get to the system, like the computer that they would use, or the software program that we'd use, even though we take some of those things away, if they're not wiped out, like, Megan has a couple, or I had a couple last year, so that's how I knew to do it. But if we do not remove their names, we'll get a verbal or a recommendation. Can't say we haven't had our share of verbals, but we'll get in there,
We're getting this.
so. But other than that, that's all I have. I'm hoping they're done by the end of the week.
Any questions for Carrie? For the Leal disposal, is that twice a year, if I remember correctly? Roughly?
Well, every once in a while, they might miss a year.
Okay,
So I think this is the first one they've done, but, well, I take that back. We don't have the funds that flow through for Monclova Christian anymore, but we still have to approve their disposal letters. And they got a new gal that came in a couple years ago, and I think they did two last year. So
gotcha,
it's,
okay. I thought
it's
that's
whenever
kinda
they
normal.
submit it is when I put it on the agenda for,
Perfect.
and if there's items that, there's been times that Chris will go over and look at the tech items to see if it's anything we'd ever need. It's never been anything that we would bring back here, but
Sure,
it's usually pretty old.
perfect. All right, if no other questions, I need a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Jeff moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Shelley seconds, and Carrie, when you are ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Excuse me. Ms. McKnight?
Yes,
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stom?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 5, Superintendent's Educational Report.
Thank you. The first thing I would begin with would be just sharing that we have a lot of great things going on right now. The holidays bring a lot of activity. We have band concerts, we have choir concerts right now. Our sports are picking up. I would share with you that we just, over the weekend, had the White House Parade that I was sharing with you. The Transportation Department made a bus look like the Grinch, lit it all up and so forth, and it was absolutely spectacular. And then many of them walked with us, and the administration walked with them as well. And so that was a fun night for everyone. But just a lot going on right now, but a lot of great things. So again, if you have the opportunity to make it to one of the concerts, it's just a way to take a little bit of time and just kind of reflect and enjoy. So did want to share with you that we do have a wellness report and a nutrition report today. So I'd like to introduce Brad Contat and Megan Menchaca.
Morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Just want to give you a brief overview of some of the wellness things we do in the district. If you want to look at this slide.
Is the mic on? So it picks up.
Your mic's on, right?
One of the things, definitely want to focus on why we do this, and based on our mission, just to revisit that, meeting the needs of our Anthony Wade students. And it all goes and flows through our staff, and particularly through the care and attention of the continuous improvement. And that's kind of what I want to focus on today, is how do we care for our staff, and how do we help them continuously improve in a holistic manner? Not just the regular, focused PDs on it's all important, reading, writing, arithmetic, what we do every single day to help our kids learn. But we need to make sure we're caring for our staff holistically, and our wellness programming is a way we do that. So again, why? Research will show, particularly in professions with high compassion fatigue and opportunities for burnout, that it will help improve health outcomes, positive employee morale, increase productivity, and reduction in absenteeism. And all of that is, again, very important too. We're looking at the success of our students, right? We want to make sure they're feeling good, that they're here every single day with our kids, because that gives the most impact. What do we focus on? So we focus on the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical well-being of our staff. And then we take those and we connect them to a variety of our core competencies, the Portrait of General competencies. You want to click to the next one? So how do we go about doing that? We do it with intentional focus. Every Wednesday, we have a Wellness Wednesday, the first Wednesday of each month, where we allow our staff to wear fitness clothing. We encourage them to participate in fitness activities and also model that for our students, participate in different activities within the buildings. Within any building, they have different activities that are going on those Wednesdays for staff and the kids. We also have regular challenges. These are quarterly, and I also put timely, because if we see an opportunity that might mesh really well with the wellness initiative, then we'll go ahead and seize the moment and jump on that. Also, we have a lot of different organized activities up January 20th, where our staff and their families can go down to EGSU and participate in their recreation center with a swimming pool. They have a climbing wall. They can use their fitness equipment. We have a ton of participation in that. We also have biometric wellness screenings where staff can come. They get a little prick in their blood. They find out their cholesterol. They do all those different types of measurements on them. That'll be January 17th this year, so we're kind of meshing that as a kind of a Friday and then a Monday with that. Again, our Wellness Wednesdays, what we did is we now have Wellness Wednesday workouts that take place on every Wellness Wednesday the rest of the year. We have different activities going on, partnering with the YMCA, so we have spin classes, we have cardio classes in our weight room. So we have some different things that just at least give our staff an opportunity to participate in, to get their day going. The pickleball socials we have going on, this is taking off like mad, right? We all know pickleball is like killing it right now. Well, our staff loves it. So we kind of like started this as a little bit of a grassroots effort last year. We tried it out. We had an initial tournament. We had a ton of people excited and engaged in that. So now it's really taking off to where we have several organized pickleball socials taking place throughout the school year. And then a lot of buildings with our wellness ones, which I'll get into in a moment, have purchased pickleball equipment for their buildings to do stuff as a staff. One of the really cool things I want to point out about this is this has been an opportunity to bring all sorts of people from our district together. Because it's not just the teachers, but we'll have teachers, food service workers, bus drivers, custodians, every single face of the district will get involved in this and have fun competing and getting together. So that's really, really beneficial. We also do, for like intellectual wellness, we do book clubs. That's coming up here into the winter months where we'll have organized book clubs. Some of them take place in the buildings about any given topic about academics, gifted, you name it, but some are just fun social clubs as well, and everybody can participate in those. And again, these are all incentivized for them to participate, and then they get dress down days and different raffles and things like that. We also do things like hands-free CPR classes that are free of charge where people can come. A lot of people participate in that on a regular basis in regards to learning how to execute CPR. We also do integration within our PD days. So the last couple of PD days, in between organized sessions, in the morning, for example, you can come early and go to a nutrition class. You can participate in yoga. During lunch, we coordinate with our EAP to have lunch that are virtual. So you can go to a class like this year on compassion and learn about what that is, how can I navigate that, those different things. We also make sure we educate people. Every month, there's new newsletters that we push out via our EAP and Savage, who is a partner with us. They get those out regularly.
just so you know, Savage is our broker, our insurance broker, so because we use them, then this work goes through that.
And obviously, we have various partnerships, again, for our EAP, the YMCA, PGSU, and local wellness experts and practitioners, like Be Free Yoga. A parent in our community that she comes in and provides yoga sessions for our classes, and they're for our staff and different things. So we really are trying to make great connections, to make sure we have lots of access to different opportunities for our staff to feel well, be excited, and want to make sure they're lining up to work on any given day, and getting them help if they need it. And one of the other pieces that's important to our wellness team is the nutrition in our district. So we sit down and we review the nutrition standards that Megan is so greatly organized, and she shares those with us, and we review them. And I thought it'd be important for her to actually come up and be able to share with you what that's all about in her department. So if you ever have any questions about any wellness programming, please let me know.
And as board members, if there's anything that you'd like to attend or be a part of with that, you're able to do that as well.
Is that okay? Hi. All right, my name's Megan Menchaca. I'm the food service director here, and I think this is my 7th school year, but I've been in school nutrition for about 11 total years, so before this. And I had the benefit of coming into school nutrition right when a lot of the rules were changing. So when you all went to school, it was kind of, there weren't really nutrition standards. You could serve humongous cookies for lunch every day, or soda, or when I was in high school, Fruitopia was the big thing, and there was no fruit in it. So, things changed about 2014, where they were making more nutrition standards in school lunches. So I've only ever worked in school food during that time, so I had the benefit of knowing the rules right when they started and being able to follow them. The basics is the National School Lunch Program and Breakfast Program is what we run, and that is funded by the USDA. And so because we get money back from the government, we have to follow their rules. So their goals are that school meals are healthy meals. And to receive the federal reimbursement for each meal that we serve, like I said, we have to follow these strict nutrition standards. I have a link in there if you would want to go and look at that. I don't want to bore you with specific numbers, but there are specific calorie guidelines, specific amount of fat, amount of sugar that can be in our meals. And so that's part of my job, is to figure that all out before I push the menus out. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, is that there is some science behind it. I'm a registered dietitian, so I understand all those things. And these standards are also referred to, like our kitchens might say, the meal pattern. We have to offer all 5 food groups, so fruits, vegetables, low-fat or fat-free milk, whole grains, and lean proteins in every meal. Now, that doesn't mean the kids have to take all of those components, but we have to offer them in order to get money back. So our department is being reviewed this year. We get reviewed every 3 to 5 years, and it's kind of like our Super Bowl to show what we're doing in the kitchens. And if we don't have all of those offerings on the menu and on the serving line every day, we can have financial repercussions. But it's part of my job also to go into the kitchens and make sure that those things are happening. Okay. Let's see. In April 2024, the USDA released a long-term federal nutrition standards for school meals, updating some of the rules. The new mandates include sugar limits and further sodium reductions to be phased in 2025. Now, I will share with you, that's not as easy as it seems, because in our kitchens, we don't add salt or sugar to anything. And so the only way that we will be able to follow these standards is if the manufacturers that make our food, like we have agreements with Tyson Chicken, Kellogg's, they make a lot of breakfast things and snack items. If they don't change their formulations to meet those standards, we can't take any more sugar or salt out of the things that we're serving because we don't add sugar to anything in the kitchen. You will not find like a bin of sugar or salt shakers in our kitchen. So sometimes the government puts forth rules, but if the manufacturers that are making the food, it's not easy for them either. They have to change their lines. They have to change their formulations. They have to change their recipes. That's going to take some time. One of the ways that they have talked about lowering sugar in school food is to take away flavored milk. So I'm a mom with 3 little kids, and I would rather have my kids have 9 grams of sugar and chocolate milk and get that vitamin D and calcium than to not have calcium at all. Because if you go into our schools and we're out of chocolate milk, it is pandemonium. What do you mean I have to have white milk? This is horrible. And they won't take it. So anyway, just trying to bring it to perspective. Whole grains will still continue. That was a big shift about 10 years ago. Everything was moving to whole grain food items. A lot of our food items you'll see today, they are whole grain, but they don't look whole grain. So that's a bonus for us because sometimes kids can be picky on that. So that will continue. It says milk will continue to allow flavored and unflavored, but with new limits on added sugar. So I don't know how they're going to do that. It might be like a very beige chocolate milk. Yep, and then the sugar limits, they're going to have a phased approach. I would say like our cereals, our yogurt, our flavored milk, those are really the only things anymore that have sugar in them. So I don't know how the manufacturers are going to deal with that. Like I said, all 5 food groups must be offered at lunch, and the students have a choice to take at least 3 items. So gone are the days where you're going through the line and every kid's tray looks the same and they're putting it on. You'll get to see today. It's called offer versus serve. They get to choose their favorite thing. So we have an array of fruits, an array of vegetables every day. And so we find that kids eat better, more nutritional when they have choices, right? Because if all they had on the tray that day was raw cauliflower, I'm not going to eat it, okay? So if we offer options, there's a greater chance of consumption, and there's also less waste if we give them choices. So it has some numbers up there about how much we have to offer the kids. Like K through 8, we have to offer half a cup of fruit a day. The older kids get a whole cup of fruit. The vegetables, there's a science to this. We have to offer all 5 different groups of vegetables. I don't know if you even know there's 5 groups of vegetables, but it helps get all of their different nutrients in there. So if we were serving green beans or potatoes every day, they're not going to get the same nutrients as when you serve red orange vegetables or leafy green vegetables for that folate and that vitamin K. And then whole grains, we just have to have 80% of our whole menu to be whole grain. So we can still use regular white pasta and regular white tortillas that the kids love. And so there's a balance. There's a balance to everything. Our lean protein, we pretty much just use beef, turkey. We do have fish. The kids love fish in this district, which is amazing. We serve quite a lot of hummus, nut spreads, and then we don't have to have meat at every meal. I know that's like for this part of the country, but a lot of the kids really have adapted to liking our meat-free options. So we have veggie burgers, we have veggie nuggets, we have black bean burgers. We offer lots of things for our vegetarian friends, and then the milk, of course. We do offer almond milk. I try to accommodate. I have about 8 kids that I do special dietary menus for. These are just a couple of our food items, like we call it our famous grilled cheese. It is delicious. And then that's just an example of one of our fruit trays that they get very fresh items. There's an assortment. And then the last one is one of our beef General So bowls. It has rice underneath it, and it's beef and carrots and broccoli. So it's not your old school lunch. Snack standards, I hear about this a lot. Yes, we still do sell snacks. It's a big income for us, but there are guidelines. For example, the Doritos that we sell, you cannot buy anywhere only schools can buy these. They're formulated from PepsiCo just for schools. So if you try them, they're like a thinner baked chip, but they're not baked chips, if you know what I'm saying. I could get you some. But anyway, there's a whole PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, there's a whole sector that just makes snacks for schools with these standards that they're lower fat, they're whole grain, and they're less sugar. So our Pop-Tarts you can't buy in a store. So when people say, well, I don't want my kid eating a Pop-Tart every day. Okay, yes, I get that, but these are a little bit of a healthier Pop-Tart, if you will. So we have to follow those rules we have one vending machine, we have snacks, and I make it a personal thing too that we don't sell snacks to our little people. So we don't sell snacks to our K through 4 buildings because we want them to focus on their meal. And then at the 5th, 6th building, we let them buy one snack per child per day, so it's not overwhelming. And then at the older levels, it's kind of a free-for-all. Yep, so all those items have to be under 200 calories, low in sugar and fat, and have whole grains. Why is the USDA updating the meal standards? It says, by law, the USDA is required to develop school nutrition standards that reflect the goals of the most recent edition of Dietary Guidelines for Americans. Most children are consuming too much added sugars and sodiums and not enough whole foods like fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, leading to a rise in diet-related diseases. By following the science and listening to extensive feedback from all of our school meal partners, the USDA is making gradual updates to the school nutrition standards in these few key areas to give children the right balance of many nutrients for healthy and tasty meals. Some of my staff say, why do we have to follow this? Like, the kids are eating, most of their food at home. Well, that might not be true. We do serve breakfast and we do serve lunch, so those are 2 out of 3 meals that we're responsible for. And I don't think that it's the sole, we're not responsible for the sole nutrition of the child, but I think that through our meals and introducing them to fresh foods, whole foods, that does carry over to when they go home. They can say, Mom, I tried guacamole at school today. Can we have this at home? And I try to do tastings, especially with our little kids, if we're having new items, or with our Wellness Wednesdays, I'll go in and do samples of different things to introduce them to new foods. Is that my last slide, Chris? Okay, I couldn't remember. I kind of edited it a couple times. So we do strive to introduce our kids to fresh foods and offer things that look appealing because kids eat with their eyes. Do you have any questions about any of our standards or what we have to do, what we have to follow?
Thank you for all the time you put in.
You're welcome.
I will also share that she does so well with, for example, when she was sharing about the tastings, to be able to go out and take little samples to the students, and they think that is such a big deal. And also, she really promotes like appearance, the presentation of the food. She has had on professional development days, individuals come in, and share like the importance of presentation, how to make something look better and more appetizing. One PD day, which was really cool, she put the different food service workers on teams and gave them a basket of goods and had them to see who could come up with different types of meals. Again, the presentation of it and so forth, and then we did a tasting and so forth and made a decision, and so that was...
Kind of like Chopped, if
Yeah.
you've seen Chopped. And our GFS rep is actually a dietitian and a chef, so she came and helped me, and it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. So, but I do believe, and also the other thing I would want to say is that the number of individuals that we have eating our school lunches and our school breakfast and stuff has increased immensely since Megan has been here. So we're very thankful for the work she does. We're also very thankful for the work that Dr. Contat does with the Wellness Committee. They do great things. And so we're very fortunate to have both of them in these positions.
I just have one question. What's the favorite meals at the little kids and then the high school kids?
I hate to say it, but the little kids still, if we have anything with chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, that is a huge day. The older kids, they get a little bit more adventurous. They like anything that has the most quantity of food. So like our mashed potato bowl, it has mashed potatoes and corn and the chicken the chicken chunks and the gravy, that's, yeah, and the biscuits, and any pasta day, they, they get a breadstick with it, and they just are, yeah, they're happy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
That's
guys.
awesome. I have one quick question. What percentage of kids eat school lunch?
So that's a great question. I would say it varies, but with our, I'd say average daily participation, we're probably serving 40% of our kids. And I could look to get a number, our free and reduced population is about 17% for our district. So that doesn't mean that they eat every day just because it's free, but that kind of is a perspective. Around surrounding areas, we definitely have one of the lower
Yeah.
free and reduced percentage schools. So for us to have 40%, I guess when I'm saying participation with such a free and reduced population is great.
Yeah.
Because that means that we're serving something that the kids that don't have to get, lunch here every day, they are choosing to get it.
Nice. Also, I think you deserve some kudos for financially, the department's doing quite well, right?
Yes, we are doing quite well, and just to share with that too, part of our review this year, the government doesn't want us to necessarily have all those funds, so I'm working on a spend down plan, and all of our funds have to go back into our department, so it will help us buy new ovens, a lot of our equipment is old, so it's nice to know. We've had 3 freezers go down this year, I don't have to sweat about where is the money gonna come from, so I'm very conscious of that. I'm not buying things just to buy them, we wait until we really need something, but it's nice to have that.
Well, I am excited for my chocolate milk later.
Oh, good. It is fat-free.
Thank you.
And that is, I guess I will share that, the next item is, happens to be building tours, and we will, after this meeting, be going to each of the 6 buildings, and we will be finishing that by having lunch at Monclova Primary with the students, so we're excited about that. What we've asked with the building tours is just to give you the opportunity to see what it looks like on a typical day, and then also to show some of the wide range of services that we offer on a daily basis, so we're looking forward to it. Moving on then to section B, we do have just some educational agreements there that you'll notice. You'll have noticed that one is a cab company, and the cost of that. We did have that individual is from a group home in the area. We did have a new group home move into the area, so we have 8 students that we are working with to provide services and so forth too, which is the requirement, and that follows that individual's individualized education plan. In item C, I did want to share with you those that we are working on the curriculum guides. I've asked Jim Connor to share a little bit of information, and then that would also work with the curriculum committee to kind of to share a little bit of the process we've been through and information on that. So, Jim?
Believe it or not, we're already planning for next school year. Been meeting with the curriculum committee. I believe we started conversations about the curriculum guides all the way back into September. So when we come back from winter break, the high school will kind of lead us off with the junior high following pretty closely behind, scheduling with students for the 25-26 school year. So one of the things that we try to do each fall is go through the process of having those 2 buildings update their curriculum guides for the next school year and then get those approved in December so that they're ready to go when they come back and start scheduling. This year, I think we have 3 new courses that we've discussed with the curriculum committee. We have a course called Automation and Robotics that we're recommending for the junior high school. Mark Richards, who is our STEM and kind of STEM/technology teacher at the junior high, actually went this summer and got some training through a program called Project Lead the Way. I love Project Lead the Way because they are kind of a curriculum company that specializes in STEM and technology pathways for students. What's nice about that is they kind of prepackage that curriculum. So Mr. Richards went with a cohort of individuals. Actually, I think he did his training online, but he trained in that course. And then Project Lead the Way provides an inventory of resources and materials. So one of the courses we would recommend is that automation and robotics. And actually, that course, a couple years ago, I wrote a grant through Project Lead the Way. So we actually received $30,000, $15,000 a year for a 2-year span. So we were able to offset most of those costs through grant monies that I had remaining. At the high school, we are recommending a couple of different courses. We have engineering and design with Mr. Martin and biotechnology with Jamie Ralph. Both kind of STEM/technology type offerings. The engineering and design would be in our technology department, and then biotechnology would be kind of in that sciences realm. The biotechnology is nice. Obviously, healthcare is a huge sector of need, not only in our area, but across the state. So those 3 courses would be new to those respective curriculum guides. We also had a slight name change on one where we were going to rename our Makerspace course to a video game design part 2. And both Chris Martin and Brian Decay came in and talked with our curriculum committee about those. Junior high committee really didn't, or excuse me, junior high school really didn't have any other changes within their curriculum guide. The high school, because of how long it is, they always have some semantics changes and they make some updates in the course descriptions. I had emailed out last week kind of a laundry list of those. Sorry for the really long email right before the weekend. I will say that we may come back in January with a couple of addendums or changes to the high school. Again, it's so long. There's so much information in there, and kind of the process that Dr. Pfefferly uses and Mr. Lefevre, he will send out to each department the previous year's language for all the departments, course descriptions, what have you, and then they kind of go through that and make some changes, and then obviously administratively they make some changes and updates as well. One of the things we could come back with is they're still finalizing some language on AP and honors entrance requirements. Post-pandemic, we kind of opened that up because we had a year where we really, we just had a year where we didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of the testing, and scrutinize isn't the best word, but it's the one that's coming to mind, is scrutinize and make sure those kids were the right fit. So for the last several years, kids have been able to opt into those. Now, obviously, guidance counselors and teachers try to, steer kids and counsel them into the best choice. But we may come back. We're still working on a little bit of that, and rather than put it in front of you, approve something, and then come back and make a change. So, but, irregardless, I think we're in a good spot with both of those documents. I provided the link to each building webpage. So what we did a couple years ago is we digitized all that. You could imagine if you looked at the high school curriculum guide, we used to print that all out and then you put it in the kids' hands. Well, I don't know about you guys, but my kids are not the best at bringing home all the information that they get at school. So the high school and junior high did a great job. And so each building has a link on their building webpage called Counseling Services. So those curriculum guides, all of that information will be digitized on those pages, so it's very accessible to students, parents, whomever needs to use that. And they'll start, like I said, right after we get back from winter break. We kind of get through the semester change, which at the high school is that's a big undertaking. Counselors will start having class meetings. They'll start, counseling kids, and we'll be off and running, preparing for the 25-26 school year. And I will tell you that for both of those buildings, just getting kids scheduled and creating a schedule for the next year is an arduous task, to say the least. We have, I would say, what is a good problem too, in the fact that we have so many students who are subject accelerated. So we have kids from FT going to the junior high to take classes. We have kids from the junior high going to the high school because those kids need to be challenged in those subject areas. So, but every time you do that, it adds a layer of complexity to that whole scheduling process. So we've worked very hard, again, to get this information together, review it with the curriculum committee, and so that we're prepared, so that we can really be thoughtful and intentional as we counsel those kids and families to make choices for the 25-26 school year. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or, you know, if something comes to mind after this, shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm always happy to answer questions and talk about what's going on.
And while you're there, we'll have Shelley and Lindsay if they have anything to also to say, and then if you'd like to add anything about the math adoption, which is our next item.
Sure. The other item that's on there, you'll see Fallen Timbers Middle School is recommending an update to their core, I call it kind of an anchor resource for their 5th and 6th grade math. So over the last couple of years, excuse me, we've been updating math resources around the district. And the high school was kind of the first. Over the last couple of years, we phased in some curriculum at the primary buildings, and worked with the junior high. They were kind of, over the last several years, they had worked really hard to kind of put together their own, with some supportive resources, kind of their own pathway. Fallen Timbers was a little bit unique in the fact that they had a curriculum that they really liked. They had done a ton of work over, I would say, the past decade to align those resources to what they felt they needed to do with their students. And so we talked at length, the math department at FT and myself, and we kind of had this, it's not broke, why fix it? They were happy, we were seeing really good results. And so we kind of said, you know, let's just push on. You know, there's no need to buy something, spend the money. If you've ever talked to any teachers about curriculum adoptions or implementations, those are tough years because there's a lot of changes to what you do in the classroom. However, the addition of the Envision Math, which is the name of the series that they're using, is no longer going to be supported by that publisher. So all of the online platform that contains a lot of their resources, materials, assessments, Savvis, which is the name of the publisher, is not going to be supporting that any longer. So worked with that group and Bethany Swift, the department chair. They did some review over the summer and then this fall. And essentially what they're doing, they're updating to a newer version of the same curriculum, okay? So while there are going to be some changes, and Lindsay and Shelley will share with you, I think we had Bethany Swift and John Ernsthausen in last week. They shared that a lot of good changes to the program, and that's what they would like to utilize moving forward. So that's on there as well.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Anything that you'd like to add?
On the math curriculum, I was very impressed. First of all, the kids get a workbook, which is, they can write on there, they can go back and look at their stuff, it's right there with them, it's their own. I love that. I also love that the curriculum both individualizes instruction, so if a kid is having a problem, there are extra lessons for that. And if a kid is superior, that child can also go ahead with the superior lessons. The other thing, and I looked through that workbook, that was challenging. I taught math. I taught sixth grade math. And the scope of it, you know, you're talking basic number sense. We're also looking, I saw geometry, I saw algebra, statistical analysis, some trig on a lower basis. So the kids are getting exposed to many, many maths, but a lot of the problem solving is what impressed me. These kids are forced to problem solve, both alone and collaboratively. So that made a lot of sense to me. I thought it was a great workbook. It just reminded me of teaching that, and it's very good. It's well done. It's a very compressed but comprehensive.
Yeah, Shelley brings up a good point, and I'll just mention that very quickly now. So over the last, I'm going to say, 5 years or so, a lot of the publishers are going away, especially at younger grade levels, they're going away from that kind of hard copy textbook concept. And they're moving towards more of a consumable work text. So a lot of the publishers now, when we enter into those agreements, rather than getting, say, 350 hard copy textbooks, that we would all be used to, the students actually get a work text. So they can work and write in their work text. They can highlight, they can underline. They might have a practice page that they would do. They might tear that out and turn it in. Some of our teachers really like that work text concept. And so I will say that one of the things that I really try to do is ensure that when we get those work texts, the kids are using them, the teachers are using them, so it's driven by, teacher need, what they need to do their job, but that would be something that would be a part of that. If you ever have a question, well, now all of a sudden my student has a workbook. Well, it is a workbook, but it's also their text. It has all the information, all the explanations, vocabulary, everything built right into that consumable resource. So.
And one thing that you did mention, and I think it's important that the community knows, these textbooks will be paid by permanent improvement,
Permanent,
correct?
yes. The curriculum adoptions typically come from permanent improvement funds. And again, just like Megan was saying, I always try to be very cognizant of the funds that we spend. I trust that the teachers are going to really dig in. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this to you now, because they had kind of made a decision through their collaborative process. This gives them, once we approve, I have a really good relationship with a lot of the publishers, but again, with Savis, I can sign kind of a letter of intent that we're going to be, adopting this program. Savis will then give them access to all of this, so they'll have the rest of this school year to kind of map out their implementation. So it's not like, I think it's a really good idea, to be honest with you, and so what they wanted was, if we have a PD day or they have some department time or something, they can be working towards getting, all of this aligned so that they're ready to hit the ground running in the fall. So that's, typically I would bring something like this to you in the spring, but this makes sense because now they'll have that extra time to get prepared for the start of next school year. And the math scores at FT have been excellent. It's a great department. I kind of gave them the opportunity to say, hey, tell me what you need, and that's what they did, and I think we're ready to move on it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I do have one
Sure.
question. So the handbook is paid out of student fees or permanent improvement?
So that's a great question. Typically what we do with the student work texts is that's paid through the adoption of the series, okay?
With the textbook, though?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So some classes may have a supplemental, they may want to have a little workbook that would be a part of a student fee. Something like this, where it's a work text that goes directly with their series, we would purchase that through the adoption, so the district would pay for that. Does that make sense?
Well, but that's purchased every year?
What I typically do, yes, is I purchase those year to year.
Okay.
I don't like to get into 6-year subscriptions of things that get sent to us.
One way to think of it, Mike, is that this actually, the consumable work text, usually if it's a consumable, then it would be a student fee, but this is a consumable work text, so it's kind of, you look at it as it's replacing the textbook. And so
Okay,
that's
yeah.
why it can be done through the permanent
Yeah,
improvement.
that's a good way of summing it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do buy those year over year because, if something would change, I always give the teachers the analogy of like a car. Most of us, we go out and buy a car and we might have a 4-year loan, right? And we're paying it off. Well, in year 2 of the loan, if we decided we wanted a different car, we wouldn't put the old car in the garage and keep paying, we'd trade it in or we'd sell it off. But if I get into one of those agreements, then I'm kind of stuck and I don't want to waste any money. So, yeah, that's how we would do that.
Okay.
Good question.
The science of math, the stuff that seems like it's coming, does this work well with that?
So I would tell you, I think the science of math is coming. We're going to have a similar situation like what we had with reading. The state has kind of, from everything I'm hearing, they've kind of put that on hold a little bit. And so I would tell you that my guess would be if it's anything like the science of reading, a lot of the newer series, like for language arts, I'll give you a perfect example. So when we updated our reading series at Fallen Timbers, that was a 2023 edition. That was one of the approved science of reading series. So my guess is that even if they come, in a couple years and they release this science of math, as long as we're within the last 4 to 5 years, we're probably going to be okay. But again, that's a perfect example of why if I was going to enter into a contract for these work texts, I wouldn't do it for a 6-year period because I would never be able to guarantee that, let's say in 2027, the state releases a list of series for science and math. Well, if Savis isn't on it and we have to punt, I'm not out, I haven't laid out or entered into a contract for 4 more years of this work text. So I'm guessing, I would be very, very confident that our K-4 program would be on. I would be very confident that this program would be on as well, but until I see it, I don't want to make any promises, Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Also, I'm excited about a workbook and having a kid's eyes on paper as opposed to screens all day.
I agree. We have a lot of teachers echoing that same sentiment, and I think it is good. And the other nice thing about getting back on paper, there's that, especially in math, so much of it for teachers' understanding of where the students are is being able to show their work and know, okay, this is where they're having a problem, and this is where we need to maybe remediate and reteach some skills by seeing that work. So I agree with you 100%.
Perfect. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you. You will find that our committees have been very, very busy. Next, we have our Facilities Committee that met in that item E. Through that committee meeting, it was determined to go into a resolution with Kleinfelder Architecture. So I would like to kind of just have Carrie share a little bit as far as how that process works when we are bidding, and then have the opportunity for Jeff and Kyle to share anything that they would like from that committee.
We have several projects that we need to get working on over the next couple years, 3 years, I should say. And again, when I talk projects, I'm talking permanent improvement fund. But one of the things, what we have to do in this process is we have to hire an architect firm that's going to help with the design of these projects. So this is the first step of that process. We had several submit proposals. I think we had 4.
Yes.
Myself, Kevin,
Neil.
and
Jeff
then
and
Jeff and Kyle. Yeah, Jeff and Kyle, sorry. All looked at the same information. I wanted to say Mike, I don't know why, but I was, sorry, that's where I was going.
Mike too. No.
So, and then we rate them. And then whoever has the highest rating, and I think we all did this individually and kind of did it our own way, but I think we all came up with the same thing. So what this resolution does is authorize Kevin and Neil to start negotiating numbers. So just like when we worked with the collaborative, then they will come back, hopefully at the next board meeting, and we'll have a contract to approve. But even with that, when a project comes up, like a couple projects, roofing, obviously, we need to do a roof, we need to do a track, we need to do, I think we came up with a list, and Neil is combining these into years for us. So we have, the rest of this year is gonna be a little rough, but we're gonna have a lot coming July 1. But when we do bring those projects, the board will still vote to authorize the treasurer to advertise. So you will still get more information, but this is just the project. But that architect and the professional design, they will help with the bid specs and everything that we need to get us to that point to where we can bring it back and say, again, authorize the treasurer to seek bids for whatever project we're doing.
It was
So
kind of
there'll
the
be-
first step within the
Yeah,
process of
there'll
doing
be
it.
much more coming, but this is just the first step to start negotiating with Kleinfelder on a cost proposal. And then, once that's done, then the board will approve that, and then that's when things will get started as far as what we're gonna do, what project's gonna come. So, I don't know if you two wanna share anything that we met that day and Kevin wrote on the whiteboard and.
Sure.
I always like to
So-
speak last.
And I had sent you guys a note to kind of outline the process as well, but just to add to what Carrie had said, it's anything, the rules, anything over $75,000, which is a lot of major projects when you think about it. But Neil had a list, there's probably, 20 different major projects that need to happen in the district ongoing. We're always doing the permanent improvement. And there's funds that are set to permanent improvement for projects that last over 5 years, basically, for the lifestyle. So it can be the vans and buses and air conditioners, roofs, major facility stuff is what usually is happening. So we kind of narrowed down the list to the top 5 priority projects that need to take place soon. And then Neil and Facilities is going to, they've got it projected out year by year after that for all of the other major projects as they come up. And some of these things, there's lots of evaluation you go into because, you repair as much as you can over the years. You get to a point where you can't repair it anymore, it's obsolete, it's costing you more to repair it than just to replace it. And like the track, for instance, we've resurfaced that a few times, I believe. You can only resurface a few times, and then this time we're at the point where it needs to be dug up, back down to the base again, and then resurfaced, and then, in another 5 or 10 years, it'll get resurfaced again. So you come to points in time where you have to spend a lot of money versus a little bit of money. And on that example, so instead of just going out and having the athletic track guy look at it and give you a quote and say, yeah, it's gonna be $200,000, we have to, by the rules, the architecture firm goes out and looks at it and determines the full bid package of what's involved in that and defines it fully so that everybody that is bidding on it has the same exact specifications. We talked a lot about the design and the shape of it and the new facility versus what we have to do now, and if we're not in that position in the next, 5 to 10 years, that we, resurface as is. So there's just a lot of stuff that goes into that, in working with the athletic folks and what their recommendation is as well. But the top projects, the track resurfacing itself, the boilers in Waterville are reaching the end of life. So we want to be proactive with that and replace those with more efficient, newer system in Waterville. And then we've got Monclova roof is a big flat roof.
Yes.
That's in the same condition where there's a lot of square footage of roofing on Monclova, and it's a lot of flat roof, which over the years has been patched, and sometimes you can, like reshingling, you can put another layer on top, but you can only do that so many times, and then you have to tear it all off and start over. So we're at that point in Monclova, so that'll be a major project. And then what else was I miss? The auditorium, sound and lights. And these are all projects that they just need done. The sound and lighting in the auditorium just needs updated. It's obsolete, so it costs more to fix things, and you can't find the equipment and
Some
the
things.
tech to do that. So we're at that point to spec all that out to newer, efficient, newer stuff that will last a long time. So we talked about all that stuff, prioritizing that stuff, looking through the resolutions from the different firms, and then, like Carrie said, they'll the fee that they charge to put the package together, plus there's different options based on the size of the project and the management of it as well, and what Neil can do and what they can do, that we work with them, so.
But the one thing to know is that when we work on the different projects, we don't have to, by doing what we're doing, we do not have to go back each time and select a new architect for the different projects. We're basically working into that we'll be able to use Kleinfelder for several projects.
Okay, so, oh, go ahead.
No, by all means, go ahead.
At this point, we're not deciding to limit our flexibility in the future with these projects, like the track, the shape of the track, where the track's located, and things like that, right? When do those decisions get kind of locked in with this?
We discussed the track. We have not decided what work absolutely would be done to the track right now. What they would do is help determine, okay, what would be the cost for simply, actually grinding it down and putting a new track in as is, or to moving the shape of the track and all that goes with that. So they would help determine that cost, and then we would determine budget, what are we able to do right now. The one discussion was that if we, go with the less expensive part of the track, we would actually, yes, if we went with that, that's what, it wouldn't change the shape of it. But how many years would that be worth, and what can we afford now, and so forth. So that's all decisions that have to be made. As far as with the track, that decision hasn't been made, but what we will be able to do is determine the cost of doing either or.
Okay, have some,
Yeah,
still have that flexibility.
Yeah, with what I was going to discuss, it was an awesome meeting. Basically, Mr. Herman put up a whole spreadsheet on the whiteboard, and we went with Neil, and we hammered out everything. And the track was actually probably our most top conversation, because we were like, oh, that just kind of makes sense to reshape it and do all that stuff. But then we're talking about, you got to move lights, you got to move this, you got to move that, you got to bring in fill dirt, so it jumped up very quickly. Significantly from the work needing done from that to what we can do now. But yeah, that's like Mr. Herman had said, that'll be a later conversation.
And with a project like that, it also has to be determined, that actually would put the field
Yes, soccer,
and the track
lacrosse.
out of commission
Yes.
for a period of time, where, so all those factors have to go into consideration when making a final decision.
Yeah, but it did jump very significantly from what we have to do now, which is already a significant amount, since, as Jeff said, we have to tear down to the bare ground and build up. But that meeting was absolutely fantastic. I loved it, just the progress we made, and looking forward to what Neil's going to bring to the table for the next 3 or 5 years, I think we discussed. So, but yeah, it was a fantastic meeting. Thank you for hosting it. Thank you.
That's good. So these are some things that we have to do 3 to 5 years. Is there, or what work is being done for what our facilities could look like, say, in 25 years? Looking down the road, how we're going to think about, different schools and things like that when we get to that point. I know we're not there yet.
Yeah, once we get, we have a lot to do right now with these projects that we're talking about. I think that once that's done, there's decisions that have to be made, and I think some long-term planning is definitely important. But as of right now, what we would like to do is focus on the projects that we know are major projects, and when we're talking about the boilers and different things like that, I say almost things that would interrupt the school day. But as we look at a strategic plan, within a strategic plan, you would look at facilities and so forth, and what would be needed in order to provide the education that you'd like and the opportunities that you'd like for your students in the future. So I believe some of those discussions would come through that, and then in order to meet the goals of our strategic plan, what facility changes would need to take place. So those are not in discussion right now. As far as 25 years out, we have had some of those discussions, but again, that would have to be a major focus in the near future.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that would definitely require a bond levy too, as far as all that goes. And
Yeah.
I don't want to say the term levy right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I understand that, yes.
Not saying, but it's like, when we were doing the levy a couple years ago, the bond levy that we had on in '23, a lot of these things were in there because it's not going to be cheap. And what we usually have is like $1 million allocated for PI projects. We're going to be a little short, so it's going to be a challenge. So we are hopeful that we can figure out a way to do all this, obviously, because we have to work with the funds we have. So it is going to be a challenge, but in order for us to get to that point, it would definitely require, us going back to the community and trying passing a bond levy for our facilities, not just to upgrade them, but to anything new or anything major would have to, we don't have the funds to do it without that, so.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush us at all. I don't want to
Don't wanna
rush us
mess
at
it
all,
up.
but I am starting to get a little bit nervous as far as what I've scheduled for times
Okay.
for our building tours.
Can I ask one question about this item?
Sure.
It says here it's an agreement. Is that the same as a contract, and how long would that be?
Right now, this is an agreement to negotiate. We will be bringing the contract back once that's negotiated next month, probably in
Okay.
January.
Okay.
We'll
thank
have the
you.
amount associated.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And super fast.
That's great.
How did you choose the architect? Like, were there there were several?
There
sounded
was a
like?
rubric that was shared with us, and then all of the different individuals involved actually went and they did proposals. All the different companies created proposals, and then you would go through the rubric and you would look at the proposal and then score. You would give us an overall score, and then when we had 5 different individuals score it. And then when we scored it, then we looked at the overall scoring for each of the ones that had presented a proposal.
Gotcha. How many were there?
Four.
Four.
Cool.
Okay. Well, again, we were very, very busy because we also met with the policy committee. I have shared with you last week all of the different policies. Many of those policies were basically some type of, they were renumbering, rescinding, had a technical correction and so forth. But there were a few that had other items and so forth. We worked closely to read all of the policies and go through all the policies and kind of summarize what it meant. At this time, I would like to move forward with the corrections that we made to make the policies. What we worked to do with the committee was made the policies fit our practices. We do work with Neola, which is a company, to basically make sure that we are working within the law and that our policies are all within the law. But then we also make sure then that they fit what we do and that what we do is within the law. So Mike and Shelley worked very hard on this committee, so I'd like to give them the opportunity to share anything.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure. So we set this room up in a big U shape, and Kevin did a good job with putting every change policy out on the table individually, and that we could go through each one individually. And we probably spent, 2-3 hours going through the 30 or so changes that we had. So anyone that's here in attendance or anyone that's online, if you guys are interested in individual things, email and we can send out. We have a packet of information that has really nicely done script through, marked out what is going away and then what is being replaced with it.
And I do want to mention that everyone does have the opportunity to look at our policies. They are all on our website and so forth. So, if anyone's interested in and seeing what our policies are, they do have the opportunity to look at those as well.
Yeah, so we also had, Brad looked at it, and in the idea of, what's that? Oh, yeah, and so Brad was here thinking about, okay, how are the teachers and how are all our employees going to be affected by these changes, and kind of looking in. Chris Hamady was here with us and explained a lot of the changes that were put in, things that would be associated with technology. A lot of those were from Senate Bill 29 that came for privacy of students, to make sure that the school is protecting the students' privacy and we're not partnering with somebody that's selling student data, and things like that. And then also AI. I think AI is probably going to be a moving target for the next decade or so. But being able to define how we are as a school going to use AI and teach students how to use it as a tool.
Yeah, and any of the policies, I just will share so that people kind of know the process. Any of the policies that impacted a specific department, for example, Carrie looked at all of them that had to do with any type of fiscal item. We had our EMIS director, Jana Leininger, look at any of them that had to do with attendance and so forth. So any of them that had to do with and Chris, with technology, the building principals, with practices that were happening within the school and so forth, and then they would make suggestions. So any of the policies like that would be impacting a specific group or so forth, that we had someone with expertise in that area, we did have them look those over also then and sign off, on the recommendations that were being made.
Let me add, so the community knows, that many of the policies and the changes that we had to make are nothing that we specifically have a voice in. These are state laws or federal laws that we do have to respect, so we cannot change that. And any change made down in Columbus or at the federal level, that has to reflect in our policies, which that's what we did. And as far as the technology, yes, the AI, especially with me having been an English teacher, I remarked to the committee that that's going to be very tough in the future to document. Where did you get the information? Is it AI? Is it your own work? So some of the measures being put into place are going to address that in the years to come very soon, because it's very proliferate, and we have to deal with how we're going to document AI-generated information. I know we have to tour, so I'm done.
No, absolutely, absolutely. No, we're wonderful. So anyway, and just to give you some indication, this was the number of policies that we did look at, and so we are looking at those changes. We have in item G a graduation approval. That is for an early graduation. That individual be able to not attend for the remainder of the year, but would be considered a graduate for the class of 2025, and then would be also invited to those exercises, to the ceremony and
Kevin,
so forth.
when is graduation day?
I will get that information to you.
It's not what is it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca takes good care of us.
All right, any further questions, comments for item, or section 5? If not, I need a motion to approve, quickly.
I so move.
All right, Shelley, second.
I will second.
Mike seconds. Carrie, when you're ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stem?
Yes.
All right, item number 6, superintendent's personnel recommendations.
We have two individuals. You heard we have resignations. One is for an assistant track coach position. The other one, you did hear Mr. Connor talking about Mr. Martin,
Yeah.
and some of the programming that he does. He has decided to leave the area. He moved here a few years ago, and has decided to resign his position. So we will be working with that. They will be working very closely to fill that position and to make sure that we have great opportunities being offered to our students. The next part you'll see is just some new hires that we have. We're thankful for the work that Dr. Contat does with that, and that Jill does in order to bring those individuals on. We do have In item C, certified and classified subs. And then we do have one position also, that is the Fallen Timbers Middle School tutor. So those are the individuals that work with the coaches in order to assist the students with intervention and so forth. We have volunteers in section D. And then we have some limited supplemental contracts, and those are just supplemental contracts for individuals that do not work currently within the school system. That's why they're considered limited supplemental contracts, that they have other jobs, but they come and help us with like coaching positions and so forth. So in section F, you have just supplemental contracts, and that's for individuals that are already hired within the school system. You have 2 teachers there that are also going to be then helping with outside things, for example, coaching, sporting. So, in item G, you have contract amendments. Those are individuals that are amending the contract that they are currently under. And that actually concludes those items.
Perfect. Any questions, comments for Mr. Herman? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I was surprised to see Chris's resignation as such a loss after all the praise I've heard. And then we got to hear him at the curriculum committee
Yes.
meeting. Does that affect the course that's being offered? Like, will,
So we just met, contact and kind of prepping bookkeeper. 4 of us sat down and kind of batted around a couple of ideas. It does have the potential to impact some of those. We've got a couple different ideas in terms of plan, but for the things that potentially impact us and the rest of the school. I wouldn't feel real confident about being able to replace this individual with his specific skill set. But what we're going to try to do is ensure that a lot of the groundwork that he laid, especially around some of the technology and STEM opportunities that we see, make sure that we keep some of that program going, especially for next year. So I don't want to take myself into the corner just yet, or our team into the corner just yet, but we have some ideas and some stuff that will flush out here very soon. But it's unexpected, in here, and it will be something that
Thank you. Anything else? If not, I need a motion to approve. Jeff moves, Lindsay seconds.
second?
And Carrie, when you're ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stump?
Yes.
All right, item number 7, do we have any other board comments? And then we went through our committee comments. If not, move to recognition of visitors, which I believe we have none. So I move to, do we adjourn?
I do believe we adjourn. We're allowed to have
Okay.
activities,
Okay.
and, as a group, so it would be just like we were going to a conference or whatever. So
Perfect.
it's
Okay.
Not, yes.
All right, so then item number 9 is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Shelley moves. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mike seconds. Carrie, when you're ready.
Mr. Baden?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkemeyer?
Yes.
Ms. McKnight?
Yes?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stump?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming. We'll have to get more chairs next time.
And thank you for your help. Yes.